pain is not a signal to stop. It's a test to deserve what you desire. We live in an era of instant gratification, where everything must be easy, fast, frictionless. And when something hurts, we avoid it, we postpone it, we bury it under excuses. But Stoicism, that ancient philosophy forged in adversity, reminds us of something brutal and true, that to grow, to act, and to move forward often hurts. Epictetus, Marcus Aurelius, Seneca, none of them lived a comfortable life, but all lived a worthy one, not because they avoided pain, but because they learned to walk with it, to use it as a signal, as a direction, as inner fire. This book is not for those seeking soft motivation. It's for those ready to act even when they tremble, for those who want to forge discipline, serenity, and inner strength. Chapter by chapter. I won't try to convince you with pretty phrases. I'll place you face to face with the truths that change lives, with the challenges that transform you from within. Because what you don't confront enslaves you, and what you confront sets you free. Do it even if it hurts. Because in the end, today's uncomfortable action will be tomorrow's unshakable pride. Chapter 1. Discipline. The act of loving yourself with actions. Most people believe discipline is punishment, something rigid, a prison of schedules. But no, discipline is an act of love. Loving yourself isn't allowing everything. It's demanding what will make you grow. Marcus Aurelius, the philosopher-emperor, woke up each morning saying, "I must rise, even if my body wants to stay in bed, because I was made for action, not for comfort." And he did, not out of obligation, but because he understood that each day was an opportunity to strengthen himself from within. Do you have goals? Then you have two options. Either you do what needs to be done, even if you don't feel like it, or you give up every time discomfort appears. Discipline is becoming your own leader. It's speaking truth to yourself when laziness whispers excuses. When you go to the gym even though you're tired. When you choose to work on your project even if no one applauds. When you study while others sleep. Right there, in that moment, you're showing self-love, not with words, but with actions. And no, it doesn't always feel good. Sometimes it's boring, frustrating, lonely. But every time you do it, even if it hurts, you're gaining ground, not outside, but within. Remember this. Discipline is not negotiated with your mood. It is signed with commitment. And when your life is full of results, you'll see it wasn't luck. It was the sum of all the times you chose to act, even when it hurt. Now that you know, you're ready to move forward. In the next chapter, we'll talk about the greatest internal enemy, the one that stops more dreams than any external obstacle, the voice that sabotages from the shadows, the excuse that sounds logical but is poison, self-deception. Chapter 2. Self-deception. The sweetest poison. Nothing sabotages more than the lie you silently repeat to yourself. The one that sounds logical, that seems to protect you, but actually traps you. I don't have time. I'm not ready. I'll start tomorrow are phrases not born of truth, but of fear, and fear, when disguised as an excuse, paralyzes. The Stoics had a word for this: prohairesis, the power to choose how to respond to what happens. Marcus Aurelius didn't say, "I don't have time," when the empire was burning. He didn't say, "I'm not motivated," when war woke him. He stood up, thought clearly, and acted. Self-deception is comfortable. That's why it's dangerous. It's the voice that says you can do it tomorrow, knowing tomorrow will bring a new excuse. It's the idea that you need to feel inspired, when what you really need is to decide. Every time you tell yourself something that sounds nice but is useless, you give up your power. You surrender without a fight. But there's a way to break it, and it's simple, even if it hurts. Tell yourself the truth. Not the world's harsh truth, but yours. The one you know and avoid facing. The one that says you're capable of more, that you're running, that you're letting your potential rust out of fear. And when you face that truth, with no filters, you become free. Because you no longer need masks, or motivation, or excuses. You only need clarity and commitment. So the next time you hear that inner voice dressed up as logic, respond with action, not arguments, because no one changes their life by justifying their stagnation. They change it by confronting it. In the next chapter, we'll break another modern myth, the one about avoiding emotional pain, and you'll discover why what hurts you can also save you. Chapter 2. No one respects those who don't respect themselves. The uncomfortable truth is this. When you don't take yourself seriously, the world won't either. You can be kind, generous, even brilliant. But if you don't set boundaries, if you don't know how to say no, if you shrink yourself to make others comfortable, then you send a subtle but clear message that you don't deserve respect. Marcus Aurelius, Emperor of Rome, wrote in his Meditations that each person must protect their mind like a sanctuary. That includes not allowing others to speak for you, decide for you, or treat you as if you are less. Because every time you choose to please instead of speak your truth, you weaken. Every time you stay silent to avoid discomfort, you dishonor yourself. And every time you allow your boundaries to be crossed, you show you have none. Respect yourself enough to be clear, even if it makes others uncomfortable. Respect yourself enough to choose the temporary discomfort of saying what you think, over the eternal regret of not having done so. Many confuse respect with fear. They believe that if they are firm or strong, they'll be rejected. But firmness is not aggression. Firmness is dignity. The next time you feel like you're giving too much, pause and ask yourself, am I acting from truth or from fear of losing approval? Because true respect doesn't come from what you give, but from what you're not willing to allow when you treat yourself with esteem, with clarity, with presence. Others will too, and if they don't, they'll leave. And that is also an act of self-respect. In the next chapter, I'll show you why pain is not your enemy, but your most loyal teacher. Chapter 3. Pain is not your enemy, it's your teacher. Imagine a sword yet to be forged. It's just a piece of metal, shapeless, dull. But when it enters the fire, when it's struck with precision, again and again, it becomes something valuable. That's how pain works. Epictetus was a slave. His master broke his leg, and still, he did not become a victim. He said, "There are things that don't depend on me, but my mind does belong to me." He turned his suffering into wisdom, and his story into a torch for centuries. Today, many want to heal, but without feeling, they want to move forward, without discomfort. But discomfort is the price of everything authentic. Discomfort is the path, not the obstacle. Remember the story of the wounded eagle. A farmer found a majestic bird fallen among the bushes. Its wings were broken, and instead of killing it, he took it home, fed it, healed it. But once healed, the eagle no longer knew how to fly. It had gotten used to the shelter, to the easy plate, to comfort. What was once queen of the skies became a domestic bird, Pain can be the fracture, but it can also be the freedom. Because every blow in life is also a question. Will you use this to give up or to become stronger? The Stoics didn't seek suffering for pleasure, but they didn't run from it when it came. Because they knew the soul, like iron, is forged in fire. Think of your current pain, the one you carry in silence. Now look at it like a stone in your hands. You can carry it forever, or you can carve it, turn it into a sculpture, one that tells who you really are. In the end, it's not about pain itself, but about what you choose to do with it. Because when you learn from pain, you stop fearing it. And when you stop fearing it, you are free. In the next chapter, I'll show you why you shouldn't wait for motivation to act, and how discipline is far more powerful than any fleeting emotion. Chapter 4. Motivation is a visitor. Discipline is your life companion. There are days when everything flows. You wake up full of energy, ideas pour out, your body responds. But there are other days, gray days, heavy days, days when you don't want to get up, or think, or go on. If you depend on motivation to move forward, you're building your life on sand, because motivation comes and goes, but discipline stays. The Stoics knew this better than anyone. Seneca wrote it bluntly. While you wait for something to push you into action, life goes on. They didn't wait to feel like it. They acted because it was the right thing to do. Because their duty didn't depend on the emotional weather of the day. Imagine a sailor out at sea. He can't wait for the wind to be favorable to move forward. He must adjust his sails, even if there's a storm. It's the same for you. You can't depend on enthusiasm. You must build an internal engine, one that works even when everything outside you feels stuck. Discipline is getting up when you don't feel like it. It's writing when your mind is blank. It's keeping your word, even when no one is watching. Think of the great achievements in your life, of those moments when you felt proud of yourself. Did they really come from motivation? Or were they the result of consistency, of doing what you said you would, even when it no longer excited you? Motivation is like a match. It lights quickly, but burns out just as fast. Discipline is the slow fire that cooks the life you want. The Stoic acts with or without desire, because they don't depend on impulse. They depend on purpose, and that changes everything. In the next chapter, you'll discover why you don't need everyone to understand you, and how freeing yourself from others' judgment is one of the most stoic and liberating acts you can do. Chapter 5. You don't need to be understood. You need to understand yourself. Seeking approval is like trying to fill a bottomless vase. No matter how much you pour, it will always seem empty. And the desire to be understood by everyone is a silent trap, one that wears down your soul and diverts your path. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "If you know what you're doing and why you're doing it, you don't need to explain it to everyone." The most powerful emperor in the world knew he couldn't rule from a place of needing acceptance, because others' judgment is fickle, ever-changing, and often ignorant. How many times have you done something good and still been criticized? How many times were you authentic and misunderstood? And how many times did you sacrifice your truth just to please others? The price of others' approval is your identity, and that's far too costly. The Stoics understood that the path of character is not always popular, but it is firm, clear, and deeply satisfying. You're not here to explain every decision. You're here to live with coherence, to align your mind with your actions, and your life with your values. Those who seek to be understood by everyone end up betraying themselves. Imagine an artist who changes their work every time someone comments. They never finish anything, never leave a mark. But the one who follows their vision, even when criticized, leaves a legacy. That's you, a work in progress. You don't need the world to understand every brushstroke. You just need to paint with truth, be firm in your principles, and flexible with your ego. Not everyone will understand you, and that's okay. You weren't born to be understood. You were born to live with purpose. In the next chapter, you'll learn why avoiding conflict can be just as damaging as provoking it, and how facing discomfort is one of the keys to forging your Stoic character. Chapter 6. Conflict is not your enemy. Poorly managed silence is. Stoicism doesn't teach you to avoid pain. It teaches you to face it head-on, to understand it, and, if necessary, to go through it as if each wound were a door to a better version of yourself. Avoiding conflict seems smart in the short term. But in reality, it's often fear disguised as prudence. Swallowed silences, words left unsaid, boundaries left unenforced. And all of that rots from within. Epictetus said, "What disturbs men is not events, but their judgment of them." And sometimes, your judgment of conflict turns it into a monster, when in reality, it's an opportunity for clarity. You're not here to please everyone, nor to pretend everything is okay when it's not. You're here to speak your truth with firmness and without cruelty, to show your spine without crushing others, to set a boundary without needing to shout. Healthy conflict, the one faced with maturity, doesn't destroy. It strengthens, clarifies, frees. Think of a conversation you avoided out of fear. Did it really resolve on its own? Or did it just pile up, like silent pressure that eventually exploded at another moment? Be like the warrior who doesn't seek fights, but doesn't run from them when honor is at stake. Sometimes, speaking clearly is the deepest act of self-love. The Stoics weren't cold, they were firm, and that firmness comes from knowing that truth isn't always comfortable, but it's always necessary. In the next chapter, you'll understand why your emotions are not the problem. The problem is that no one ever taught you how to listen to them. Chapter 7. Your emotions are not the enemy. They are signals from the soul. For centuries, the idea has been repeated that feeling is weakness, that a true Stoic doesn't let emotions touch them. But that's a misreading, a distortion of the true power of Stoicism. The Stoics didn't reject emotions. They studied them, understood them, and then decided whether or not to be guided by them. Feeling is not the problem. Being a slave to what you feel, that's the real issue. Seneca wrote, "It's not that emotions dominate us, it's that we haven't trained them. And that changes everything. Your emotions are like the wind. You can't stop it, but you can adjust your sails. They can drive you forward or disorient you, depending on your inner preparation." Do you feel anger? There's something that needs a boundary? Do you feel sadness? Maybe you're letting go of a part of yourself that still hurts. Do you feel fear? There's probably a truth you haven't accepted yet. Each emotion carries a message. Not all of them are right, but all of them bring you information. Imagine being in a battle, and they take away your senses. You can't see the enemy, can't hear the commands, can't feel the wound. Would you survive? Emotions are just that, your inner senses. But if you let them become the captain of the ship, you'll lose your way. Mastering your emotions doesn't mean repressing them. It means observing them, listening to them, and then acting with wisdom. That's what the strong do. The weak react, the wise respond. And you are here for that, to become someone who acts, not someone who reacts. In the next chapter, you'll discover something essential, the most powerful habit for a modern Stoic, the one not taught in school, but that changes everything. Self-discipline. Chapter 8. Self-discipline is love in action. Many believe that self-discipline is a form of punishment, but in reality, it is the greatest act of respect toward yourself. It is the promise kept when no one is watching. Marcus Aurelius wrote in his Meditations, "Do what you must do, not what you want to do." And that line, simple yet brutal, holds a truth few are willing to live. Self-discipline is not lifting weights or waking up early every day. It is having the courage to act on what you know, even when you don't feel like it. It is telling yourself, no more, when you could keep giving in. It is saying, now, when everything in you wants to delay. It is looking at your reflection and knowing you can trust yourself. Because in a world where everyone seeks instant pleasure, the one who trains for the long run is the one who ends up building empires. Mental, physical, spiritual. Self-discipline pulls you away from easy gratification and brings you closer to greatness, and that hurts. But it's a pain that transforms, a pain that cleanses you, that makes you strong, that gives you your power back. When you do what's right, even when it's uncomfortable, you are choosing to be your own leader. You are being the father, the teacher, the general of your own soul. And there is no greater freedom than that. Because the true modern Stoic is not the one who appears strong. It's the one who trains in silence, who keeps the promises they make, the one who does what must be done, even when it hurts. This is the end of the audiobook. Do it even if it hurts. Stoicism for daily action. Thank you for making it this far. Remember this phrase, over and over again. Being strong is not about not feeling. It's about acting with courage, even when it hurts. And that is what you've just learned. Now, do it.